welcome to my channel. I have my lovely fall flannel here. I believe that the day I upload this it will be either September 30th or October 1st. So it's officially fall. I was going to show you all the candle that I'm currently burning, but I did burn my fingers a little bit when I went down to pick it up, so no, but it is a nice fall scent. Today I am still in my relationships bag, I guess. Recently I've been discussing that kind of thing a lot. And I wanted to talk about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett. Will is going to have an article coming out in GQ magazine. I think it's the October edition. And he also is going to have a memoir coming out where he discusses the true nature of his and Jada's marriage. According to Will, she's not the only one that's had extramarital affairs. In fact, he said this: Jada could never have done a conventional marriage. She didn't want the marriage to be a prison, or they didn't want their marriage to be a prison, and so they allow each other to have affairs. Now, I actually remember something like this being discussed. It was when he did Hitch. He did Hitch, and he hired Eva Mendes. And I remember him talking about her and talking about how sexy he thought she was, and how like he and his wife had a list of people that they would allow the person to leave the union for and like fool around with, and like Eva Mendes was at the top of his list. So when this news came out, I was like, oh, that wasn't a hypothetical list. Like, that's a very real thing that you guys did. Interesting. Speaking of a list, Will also says in the GQ article that people that he told his wife he would want to sleep with, the harem of girlfriends that he would like to have around him, was Halle Berry and Misty Copeland. Yes, they were very open with each other, and in some cases with the media, about the fact that they are attracted to and are open to still seeing other people despite being married. And then, of course, we have what happened in 2020, right, with Jada Pinkett and August Alsina. Her coming out and saying, hey, we were in a relationship after he boohooed and cried and told people about it, and expressed what, I shouldn't say boohooed and cried because that's dismissive. The man was in real pain. So when he expressed what happened and told his side of the story, and finally like she came forward and told the truth about it, because at first she was denying it, and then she came forward and she said we did have an entanglement. And so I think, we had that happen, and then Will came out with this, and the whole thing is a little bit, I think, disconcerting for people for a number of reasons. For one, for so long, Will and Jada were, I don't care what anybody says, they were relationship goals or couple goals. You have this Black couple in Hollywood, very successful, very attractive. They seem devoted to each other. They seem like they have a happy family life. And then it comes out that there's actually some things happening beneath the surface that certain people are morally opposed to. I also think that when we have any type of example of Black people doing something well, this idea of Black excellence is a great idea, as much as it is an idea that like tends to weigh people down and keep them constricted and confined, like they're not allowed to be human anymore because they have to continue to be excellent, because what one Black person does is a reflection of all Black people. So yeah, I think people, whenever it came out about Jada's entanglement, it was like, no, not our faves. And now Will says this, and it's like double betrayal. But for me, I just reflected a little bit when this news came out on my shifting attitudes when it comes to long-term relationships. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit in this video. Because I definitely don't think of marriage the same way I used to, I want to say even like 2 or 3 years ago, and I just realized that here recently. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to talk about, because we won't know until Will releases the book.
LOL, I love freezing at fun little moments like this. So this is what happens when you rush to talk about something. I actually made this video like the day this was announced, but since then the GQ article has fully come out, and it has been confirmed that what they have is actually it's an open relationship. So this next section of my video, I'm going to talk about a couple of different untraditional or non-traditional relationship pathways that people tend to take when they want to explore different types of partnership. And at this time when I was recording it, I didn't know what Will and Jada had done. So it was a fun little research trip for me, who's never experienced anything but something close to monogamy. So yes, I am going to be talking about different types of relationships that can be considered unconventional. However, at this point in time, we do know that what Will and Jada have been doing is just is an open relationship, which I'm going to talk about here as well.
I want to talk about the types of relationships they might have been having based on just the nomenclature and definitions that we have currently for unconventional relationships. So the first types of relationships they might have been having are polyamorous relationships. According to this article, and it came out in like 2021 in Newsweek magazine, but about 1 in 9 Americans have participated in some form of polyamory. And of course, polyamory is when you have one person and they're in a relationship with multiple people, usually at the same time with everybody's consent. So you'll have thruples, or, if there's 3 people in a group. That's what polyamory is. It's when you have more than one person and they're all aware of each other and they're all in a relationship with each other. I don't think this is what Will and Jada were doing. Of course, we'll have to see or read the memoir to know for sure. The next type of unconventional relationship that they could have been participating in is they could have been swinging, which of course is when you have one couple and they will swap partners, or they will all participate in things together. They'll switch it up. They'll show up maybe at a swing group's party, throw the keys in the bowl, right, and experiment with different types of partners, and then leave as a unit, as a united unit. I don't know. Again, we'll have to check and see. I did find some stats on swinging, and apparently somewhere between 2 and 10% of all Americans have participated in swinging. So that is something that they could have been doing. Again, we'll have to see. Finally, you have open relationships. And open relationships, or as I've seen them referred to, ethically non-monogamous relationships, are when people, like your partner, is aware that you are out seeking out other things from other people. I saw this a lot of times on dating sites. For example, I'd be swiping and I'd see a guy and I think, okay, he's very cute, he's handsome, he did it, I'm going through it. I'm like, there's got to be a catch. And then for me, a catch is, and I'll explain, when they would say something like, I'm ethically non-monogamous, my wife knows what I'm looking for, we're in an open relationship, so on and so forth. The reason why it would be a catch for me is because I felt like emotionally then you've given yourself to one person, and also legally you've given yourself to one person, and so I would be extremely limited in this exchange. I do feel like this is what Will and Jada were doing. I feel like they bonded to each other emotionally, and she said as much in the Red Table Talk interview where she interviewed him. She's like, we are emotionally bonded, we're emotionally connected, but I do have needs elsewhere, or sometimes I do find other people interesting. So I think that is Will and Jada, that ethically non-monogamous open relationship. Like, we're together, but we will allow each other to seek out other partners if need be. So I want to also talk here about just like different experiences. I've never been in any kind of throuple or ethically non-monogamous, like nothing like that, and don't desire to be, and I'll talk about that. But I did have a friend a couple of years ago, and it was so crazy because we were like close friends, but we were so different when it came to our experiences in our personal lives. I was like a whole virgin, and having to counsel her on her profiles that she had on websites like FetLife, which is a popular fetish website, and she had other things going on. I met this girl through a Bible study when she was in a phase of her life where she's like, I'm going to be celibate now so that God sends me my husband. She was freshly divorced. She was in a situation where somebody had married her just for a green card. It had broken her heart. She was freshly divorced. And now she was like, I'm in this Christian group and I'm going to just be celibate until God sends me my husband. So that lasted about a year. And then she started posting things on different websites. I think she was she was one of the first people who used the internet to find partners. I remember she was like on Adult Friend Finder and some other websites. I mentioned FetLife. And she was getting out there, and she would tell me about these things. And again, I'm a whole entire virgin who hasn't even kissed a dude, like never even really held hands with a guy. And I'm just listening. Yeah. And eventually she got to the point where she was really involved in BDSM. And so she really didn't like when the movie 50 Shades of Grey came out, she was one of those people who was like, that is not how it works. So I learned about, the ins and outs of that lifestyle through her. And, I side-eyed the movie as well because I was like, oh, okay, this is not right. But she ended up in relationships that had a BDSM vibe to them, but also polyamorous relationships where she was connected to the guy in the group. Anyway, I learned so much. But what I saw it do to her was she had an emotional connection with a person in the group, and she was having to share herself even though she didn't really want to and it didn't feel natural for her. She ended up leaving that lifestyle entirely and focusing on relationships in other ways. And that's some experience I had. I knew someone who after somebody had worked with them for a long time, like a number of years, they came out and announced, oh, this entire time I've been in a throuple. So I'm just saying this to say I've known people in my life who have been in unconventional relationships and have liked them and have not liked them. And also, I think dating nowadays, modern dating, everybody expects you to be okay with, well, yeah, we can be dating, but I'm also seeing other people. I'm doing this too. I'm over here doing this too. Until you guys are ready to make a real commitment to each other. And of course, as we see, that commitment can look different. So again, all of this made me re-examine or made me just think again about how my ideas of relationships have changed. And what type of relationship I want, how that sort of shifted over the years. So I will never be a person, I don't think, I know actually for a fact, I'll never be a person who will do open relationships, polyamory, any of those things, simply because I am territorial. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So just like I can be tolerant, I feel, of different people's choices, I feel that it's wrong when someone says, oh, I'm not into having more than one partner at a time. I like to just focus on one person. Oh, you need to be more open. You need to. No, they don't. Let people do what feels right for them. Okay. But I'm just, that's not my thing. What I can respect is people understanding that their energies change and shift over time. And what feels right for them today might not feel right tomorrow. And I look at people like my parents who've been married for 46 years. And maybe they're just not telling me the truth. But one of the things that I would ask them is, so you guys only have had strong feelings for each other. And my parents met in high school. They're that couple. Nothing else ever happened. No crushes at work. No. I've asked them this after a glass or two of wine where I'm feeling free and disrespectful. And the answer is always no. They always just knew that it was each other. They're fine with that, so on and so forth. So that's something that I think about when I think about long-term relationships and marriages. Not necessarily the fact that you have to be crazy about other people, but the fact that you do change as you go through life. And there are different partners that fit you, I feel, for different stages of life that you're in. And I used to imagine, when I was younger, I really did used to think, I was like, okay, I know that I'll probably be in a really serious relationship in my early 20s, my mid 20s. And then my late 20s, I'll meet the guy and we'll have kids together and build wealth together and so on and so forth. And then I was perfectly fine with, after those things happen, meeting the person, having kids, buying houses, building wealth, I was fine with doing the rest of my life on my own. That's what I thought in my head. Conjecture, right? I didn't know. I still don't. I didn't know anything. But I really could see that when it came to me, there is a part of me that likes being free. There's a part of me that likes going and reporting for partnership for the purpose of getting something done. And maybe that's because I've never just had a lot of boyfriends. I've never had I'm not the one who's oh, and then he was my boyfriend for this thing. And that's not me. So when I think of relationships, I'm we're coming together to complete a purpose, whether that was to start a family, whether that was to pull our finances together in order to live a certain type of life. You know what I'm saying? I've never, when I see relationships, I see them as hubs for personal progress and things that cannot be achieved when somebody is on their own. So that's one side of my mind. And so that side of my mind totally understands, hey, you know what? Somebody that you're with today may not be the person you want to be with tomorrow. That's okay. In fact, if you don't want to ever get married and you just want to have long-term relationships that end when you're ready for them to end, that's fine. If your energy for this day is for this person and for that day it's for that person, totally understandable. I get it. So that is one side of my brain. Then there's the other side of me, the side that started writing love letters to people in elementary school. The side that when I fell in love for the first time, that person and those memories and their face didn't leave my mind. Like, I was deeply in love for 9 years. Unrequited love. That boy didn't even know I was alive, but I was like, one day we'll be together. But that's how I was. In fact, there was somebody that I fell in love with in my 20s. And let's say like his name was, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Okay, so the name Xavier means new house. This wasn't his name, but like, let's say his name was Xavier, and it means new house. I like want to get a house tattooed on my body, if that makes sense. Like, this guy, I loved him so much, and I still, when I think about him, I'm like, oh yes. I would still get to this day his name or like an illustration of like the symbolic meaning of his name tattooed on my body. Because when I love people, it like opens up a deep chapter in my life and they affect me in every single way. And I remember being around that person and when they got into a relationship or they were showing somebody else more attention or something, I remember it deeply hurting me. The fact that I was choosing them and they weren't choosing me back. And so that's the other side of my personality. And that's why I know ultimately I would never be able to do an open relationship or this or that. Like, it just wouldn't be for me because I love very, very, very deeply. And you become a part of me. And so like a part of me is outdoing what? Oh no. No. So yeah. Also, I want to say this. I always thought this when I would see it on dating sites, but I'm literally swiping trying to find one person I like that likes me back. And you got a whole wife at home. Somebody, you done got married. You done walked down the aisle, signed legal papers, and you're still like, I want to find someone else. Like, what it is for me is it's just like, don't you already have somebody? Stop being greedy. That would be frustrating to see. But again, different strokes for different folks. Different people have different needs. I also think like your reality and your perspective. So if you're the type of person that's been able to get whomever you want, if people fall all over you and then you get into a marriage and it's like, whoa, I have to choose one person all the time, I can see how that'd be hard. It'd be a hard switch. And from what I'm learning about Jada, just through since she's been so open about her life, yeah, I can imagine marriage for you being a prison because you're used to loving and being loved. I mean, she has a Libra Venus. she can't help it. So yeah, so to wrap this up, I think it's going to be interesting as Will releases more and tells more of his story. I was a little skeptical because I was like, is he telling us this so he doesn't look so bad? Because Jada kind of, I think people thought she's making him look bad by saying, you know, you've been out here and it's your salary and your career that's really afforded us this life that we've had. Because at one point he was the #1 earning like action star, and every summer he was giving us a blockbuster. And so he's definitely done his part to give them a certain type of life. And I think a lot of people felt like, and this is what she's been doing behind his back. So I think for him, it's important to say, no, I've known the whole time. And this is also what I've been doing. But there is a part of me that's like, were you really doing that? Or do you just not want to look bad? At the same time, I think it's important for them to be honest about this because we have a lot of ideas, especially like within the Black community, about what relationships look like for us, what healthy relationships look like. And you know, at the end of the day, these are two people that did stay together. They raised kids together. And they seem to both have been outwardly happy. I don't know. It says parasocial relationships again, right? Like, we never really knew Will and Jada. And I think that that's something that is like blowing people's minds. It's like, wow, I didn't know you guys at all. And I assumed that I did, which was wrong. I forgot my point. Oh, my point is that I've definitely done some revision over the past years of what I see for myself in a relationship. And I've had to think, you know, since meeting friends that are doing different things, going online and seeing people are doing different things, trying to date and being faced with different realities. I've had to think like, would you be cool with this? And ultimately, like for me, monogamy is the answer and it's what I want. But when I want it and for how long I want it, those things are still up for debate. So, yeah, I think that I'm interested to see what happens after he releases the memoir. And I'm also curious if you have ever had polyamorous, open relationships, like how did it go for you? If you knew somebody that it worked really well for, or if you knew someone that it was a disaster for, please, share in the comments below if you feel comfortable. The internet loves mess. We do. We love stories. We love to hear about it. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for watching.